everybody, my name's Allie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, thanks for not being sick of me yet. So it is the end of November. It is time for my monthly reading wrap up, the books I've read in November. So this month I have read 22 books. 7 of them were on my Kindle. So we'll be jumping back and forth between books I have and books from my Kindle. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So apparently I wanted to start this month in tears. I apparently felt the need to cry. I came right out of the gate with Full Tilt and All In by Emma Scott. It's a duology. These destroyed me. I don't know how I continued reading after I read these, because these destroyed my soul. This destroyed my soul. This helped heal my soul, but it still hurt. Basically, if you were like all of us in middle school and you were a big fan of Fault in Our Stars, please read these books. They're so underrated. I took these to work and was reading these on my lunch break at work. I was sobbing in the parking lot in my car at 11:30 in the morning at my job because of this book. That's all I have to say. 5 stars for both of them. I followed those up with another hard hitter. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. If you're gonna read this book, please check trigger warnings. Very good book. I 5-starred it. An amazing Coho book. It's hard to go wrong with her. So after all of that heartbreak and trauma, I decided to just stick with a solid romance. I read The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This was recommended to me a few times here and there. I didn't really know much about it, but it seemed like something I was like, I gave it 3 stars, so I'd recommend it. 3 stars for me is like, it was a good book. Nothing special. It's not my favorite, but it wasn't bad. There's more books to the series, I guess. I didn't realize that. I thought it was a standalone. I don't necessarily know if I'll read the rest of the series, but this book on its own was good. I enjoyed it. So the next book that I read this month was my first book of the month on Kindle, and that was Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. This wasn't necessarily my favorite. I know a lot of people love this book, and I understand why. It definitely has like the drama aspects in it, but for whatever reason, it wasn't really my vibe. The main character, daughter, kind of bothered me. I didn't really like her as a person. I thought she was kind of annoying. Yeah, I still enjoyed it, but I rated it 3 stars. I do recommend it. It's just not necessarily my favorite. Following right up with that on Kindle is From Luke Off With Love by Mariana Zapata. I started reading Mariana Zapata last month. One of my new favorite authors. I absolutely adore her. From Luke Off With Love is one of my all-time favorite books of hers. I loved it. I 5-starred it. It was so cute. It made my heart happy. If you love slow burn, if you love Mariana Zapata, you will love this book. It's got sports romance. It's figure skaters, kind of like best friends, brother tropes with some like enemies to lovers, I guess you would consider them, because they're like rivals in skating. Very good. I loved it. Made my heart happy. 5 stars. Please read it. So next up this month, I read November 9th by Colleen Hoover. I have a video on my channel, a couple behind this, if you want to go watch it. It's me reading November 9th for the first time on November 9th. It was a trip. I'm not going to get into it. There's a reason why it was chaotic as hell. Go watch that video. It explains everything. But despite my drama with reading this book in general, I loved it. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. For me, nothing Colleen Hoover has beat Verity for me. Verity is my all-time favorite Colleen Hoover book. Nothing has beat it. This was close, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute. I was kind of worried that you wouldn't really be able to follow it really well because it's every November 9th. They did a really good job of tying it together, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. I loved it. Made my heart happy. Next, I read Thrive by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is the Addicted/Calloway Sisters series. I've been following the recommended reading order that is in the front of every book, where the main Addicted and the spin-off Calloway Sisters is combined. So this is the 6th book in this series, if you're following the recommended reading order. I was trying to finish the whole series this month, but I'm very much a mood reader, and I was in the mood to read a lot more other books throughout the month, I guess. So hopefully by the end of December I'll have the rest of the series read. That's going to be like my main goal for December, is to finish this series. I gave this one 4 stars. Addicted is not my favorite series. I have nothing against it. I just haven't really clicked with it with like a lot of other people have. A lot of people, this is like their god. They're totally in love with the series. I like it. It's not my favorite. So far, this and Hot House Flower have been my 2 favorite books out of the series. I still got 3 or 4 more left. So overall, I love the series. I totally recommend it. But it just hasn't become my all-time favorite series yet. But I'm hopeful that might change. Next, I read Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This book is recommended to me all the time. I personally, and this might be a hot take, think that it's kind of overrated. I really didn't know what to expect when I went into it, but like, it's very simple. Like, I was definitely surprised by like the big plot twist in the end and how everything tied together. That was definitely shocking, and I didn't see it coming out of anywhere. But overall, I just felt like this book was just like really simple, and it just didn't grab me the way the other romance books did. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I do still recommend it, and it's still a really good book. 3 stars, again, are books I still totally recommend. They just aren't necessarily my favorites. I'm glad I read it. It's still definitely good, but I don't personally think that it's my favorite book of all time. But yeah, Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. So next I read what was honestly my only fantasy book that I read this month. I read this whole shelf back here in the background is all fantasy books. I was on a romance kick this month. That's pretty much all I read. This is the only fantasy book that I read this month, and it was Steel Striker by Marie Lu. This is the 2nd book in the Sky Hunter duology. I loved Sky Hunter, immediately went and bought Steel Striker. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I also gave the first book 4 stars. It's amazing. I recommend it. It's very much in the era of like us in middle school with like Divergent, Hunger Games. It's very like dystopian, end of the world societies, but it's so good. I loved it. I couldn't ask for anything more. So yeah, Steel Striker by Marie Lu. So next I read The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. This was the only thriller book I read this month. Other than this and Steel Striker, all I've been reading this month is romance. This was not my favorite. It was recommended to me a lot, and I'm a big fan of true crime and thriller stories, but like, I wasn't really impressed by this. I think I gave this 2 stars. It's not something I would necessarily recommend. You as the reader knew everything that was going on. The whole mystery is like, oh, are these 2 guys' wives dead and who killed them? But the whole time, like, you're pretty much told ahead of time what happened, so you're like, nothing really seems intense because you already know what happened. They hype up the main character to make her seem like she had some shady past when it's really not that bad. It was a thriller that wasn't thrilling, and it was a mystery that wasn't really mysterious. That's the best way I can explain it. Getting right back into the romance side of this month, I started the Off-Campus series. So I read the first one, The Deal, and the second, The Mistake. I have like the next 2 or 3 coming in the mail because I love this series. This was a series I was hesitant about starting because it is compared a lot to Addicted, and Addicted has not necessarily been my all-time favorite series, so I was worried that I wasn't really gonna like this. I love this series. I think I gave The Deal, the first book, 5 stars, and I gave The Mistake 4. I love these books. I really didn't think I was gonna like them as much as I did. They are a big friend group. All the guys are on a hockey team, and it's about all of them kind of like finding the people they fall in love with and dealing with their past trauma and their past relationship issues. And it's kind of like a big found family trope at the end overall, honestly. I really love this series. If you like Addicted, read this. You really will like it. I liked it better than Addicted, which also might be a hot take. It's really great. Super excited to read the rest of the series. I'm sure that I'll probably have most of it read by next month. I do want to read the Briar U spin-off series as well, so update on that for next month. But so far, first 2 books, love them. Go read them. So the next 2 books that I read this month are hopping back over onto my Kindle. So the first one I read was Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This book is recommended to me a lot. It didn't disappoint. I really liked it. I guess this is supposed to be like a 3 or 4 book series because it follows a group of brothers. And the next books aren't out yet, but I definitely am interested in reading them. This book is really good. This is probably one of my favorite romance books that I read this month. I 5-starred it. I loved it. It was really great. Highly recommend it. It's very grumpy sunshine. If you like grumpy sunshine tropes, this is the definition of it. It's got some workplace romance. I would consider it kind of enemies to lovers because they didn't necessarily like each other in the beginning. Please go read it. It's great. You can't go wrong with it. And then followed up with that for my second Kindle book, All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. Again, Mariana Zapata. I just simply love her. She has done no wrong to me so far. I have read 4 or 5 Mariana Zapata books and they have all hit. All Roads Lead Here is, as of now, my all-time favorite Mariana Zapata book. I loved this book so much. This is everything I ever could have wanted in a slow burn romance and more. It was so fucking cute and it needs to be hyped up more. I loved Culty. I love Wallow in a Pig, all the ones that get a lot of attention. Loved them. All Roads Lead Here tops that, hands down, bar none. Moving on. So the next book I read was actually a reread. I reread The Hating Game because the movie trailer for it dropped. I also made a video on that if you want to watch my reaction from the book to the new movie trailer. So I reread this month again. I love this book. It's quite simply an amazing workplace romance book. You really can't go wrong with this. I was skeptical to read this at first because I thought it was going to be really like cheesy and I wasn't going to like it. I read this for the first time maybe like 6 months ago. I loved it. I 5-starred it. Yeah. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. So the next book that I read is probably one of my new all-time favorite books, and I'm mad at myself for waiting this long to read it because at this point everybody has read this book, and if you haven't, I am telling you, you need to read this. This book is beyond amazing. It is a perfect piece of literature that, along with Seven Husbands, needs to be read by children in school. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I normally tab my books. I had so many quotes and things and scenes from this book that I quite literally used a whole package of tabs, like maybe this far in. So instead of tabbing it, this is the first book that I side highlighted. So all of my highlighted pages match anything that I highlighted in the book because I did not feel like wasting all of my tabs on this book. But if you haven't read this yet, get out from under the rock you're living under. Read this. You will not be disappointed. I believe there's also a TV show coming out for this. I'm so excited. I want these songs to be real, so if this TV show makes these songs real, that's all I could ever ask for. I gave it 5 stars. You can't go wrong with this. Taylor Jenkins Reid, she hits. I loved Evelyn Hugo. That was also one of my new favorite books. Read that one as well. I read that last month if you want to watch my review for that. But read this. That's all I have to say. So next I read You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. If I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry, but that's personally how I think it's said. Don't really know. I gave this book 4 stars, tabbed it. It was super cute. This is very much like a second chance romance. It's a couple that's engaged and they're trying to decide if they want to go through with their wedding or if they're going to break off their engagement. And it's about them finding each other and finding their love for each other again. I feel like this is a very relatable book. And it's very real life. It's nothing like, oh, he swept me off my feet and everything was perfect. It's them dealing with their issues and learning to love and trust each other again. And I don't think I've ever really read a book like this before. And I really loved it. I think it's great. You should 100% go read it if you're into second chance romance. So the next 2 books I read were also on my Kindle, and that is To Love Jason Thorne and To Hate Adam Connor by Ella Mays. To Love Jason Thorne. I loved this book. I thought it was so cute. It is brother's best friend and like childhood best friends to lovers mixed into one. It's got celebrities and like the limelight, big old paparazzi. It's amazing. And it's followed up with To Hate Adam Connor, which is the 2 main characters from Jason Thorne, their best friend falling in love and her like getting over her trauma and things. It's an amazing duology. I loved it. I gave both of them 4 stars. So if you like brother's best friend, if you like childhood friends to lovers, if you like enemies to lovers, if you like single parent tropes, read these books. You will live 'em, laugh 'em, love 'em. That's all I'm saying. Followed up with that on the Kindle, I read Hands Down by Mariana Zapata. I also really liked this book. So far, it's not my favorite, but I definitely like it better than some of the other ones Mariana Zapata has written. I feel like this book really doesn't get much hype or recognition, and I feel like for a lot of people it hasn't necessarily been one that they liked compared to other ones, but I really liked it. It's really good. It has a lot of interconnections between her characters in other books. It has characters from Luke Off with Love, from Wall of Winnipeg, and I think that that's a really cute aspect that she has, that she kind of like ties in all her characters to her other books. I think that's something really unique that she does. This is another football romance. If you liked Wall of Winnipeg, you will like Hands Down. It was great. I believe I gave it 4 stars. This is a brother's best friend, childhood best friends to lovers, and it's very cute and I love it. So I capped off this month with The Roommate by Rosie Danan. Also, I think that's how it's said. I don't know, but I think that's how it's pronounced. So this book I've seen on TikTok like all over the place, and it was super hyped up as a spicy book. I love myself some spicy books. I was thoroughly disappointed. This book is not spicy, in my opinion. Their idea of spicy scenes were not spicy. It was a cute storyline, like it was definitely unique because the main guy in the adult entertainment industry. You picking up what I'm putting down? Yeah, he does that. So it's definitely a unique storyline. I did enjoy it. I believe I gave this 3 stars just because I thought it was a little bit overhyped. It wasn't as great as what I was expecting it to be. So I did like it, but I was disappointed in the fact that it wasn't really what I would consider a spicy book. If you like forced proximity tropes, I think that you'll really like this. Yeah. So yeah, that is all of the books that I read in the month of November. I read about 22 books this month. Disclaimer, it doesn't matter how many books a person reads in a month. If you didn't read it all, great. If you read 107 books, great. If you read 2, if you read 6, whatever. Everybody reads at their own pace and nobody should feel pressured because of what somebody else reads. Reading is for your enjoyment, and if you're putting so much pressure on yourself that you don't enjoy it, then that's not okay, you know? You shouldn't be comparing yourself. However many books you read this month, if you read any of all, I'm proud of you, and I love you. If you guys have read any of the books that I read this month, let me know what you thought about them. Do you agree with my opinion? What did you rate them? How did you like them overall? I would love to know. I'd love to discuss it with you guys in the comments. Yeah, thank you for hanging out with me today. If you'd like to follow me on any of my other social medias, they will be linked in the description box down below, and they are on my home screen channel banner. So yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you somewhere else on the internet.